we have sweat equity in the city. Many times the town, the cities that folks are being gentrified or displaced out of because big landlords or rich landlords are coming in and they're pushing you out with high rent increases. The community fought hard to increase the value, bring value to the community. Because I know in the Boston area here, especially in the Black and brown communities of Boston, folks fought hard for commuter rail, train stations, right? Stops, commuter rail. They fought hard to have amenities. They fought hard to have all the value added benefits that they have right now. After 20 years of fighting, because I remember going to a church and I heard community members talking about, you know what, we live in this town and we hear the train passing by every single day. And here we are taking buses, taking 2-3 trains to get to Boston. We would like to have a couple stops here in the area. And for 15 plus years, I used to go to those meetings. Folks were fighting. Community members, leaders were fighting. And eventually, they got the commitment from our local government to finance a couple commuter rail stops, right? Both of them are in the city, the Black and brown communities. And as soon as those stops, as soon as they were opening, all of a sudden all the prices going up in the community. And prices for housing, prices, the rental and the market in terms of like buying and selling. Everything went up. And, someone who doesn't understand might say, well, it is the nature of things. This is capitalism. If the value's gone up, you cannot afford it, you get out. But what about all the sweat equity that these people put into bringing up the value? When do they get to benefit from that sweat equity? What do they get in return for all the work that they've done? The only thing, obviously, they are being offered is to get out.
Can you explain?
Almost like, I said all the time, Will, can you imagine you come to my house and I sweated to create my meal, to make my meal. I made a 5-course meal and I spent all day working on it. And then you came in, knock at my door and say, Gabrielle, get out because this is my meal. I get to eat it. How fair is that?
No, it's not. It's not fair at all. I do want to touch upon gentrification because I have mixed thoughts on gentrification because there's a lot of good with it and there's even more bad with it. But can you explain sweat equity? It's a term I've heard here and there before, but explain in this situation. Explain what it is and how it didn't work.
Yeah, well, in my opinion, sweat equity is all the work that you have to do to bring value to your community.
Right.
For example, again, that example with the commuter rail, those hours spent going to meetings, those community meetings that folks went to, those hard work, picking up the phone, petitions, going before elected officials, explaining why it will be a valuable asset for the community if they were to get those stops. And also to find, in order for you to bring any value, you got to do a lot of work. In addition to the fact that everybody pay taxes,
Right.
It's not like it's not only the rich, because the $35,000 average income, you're not taking all that $35,000 home.
If
you take 70% of that. The government takes it. So you have money through your taxes that's been invested in the community. Your tax dollars were invested in addition to all the work, because there are people in the community who are constantly working hard, slaving away to bring value to the community, to make it a better community. Whether it is investing in the children, investing in the school, investing in the church, churches, investing in just like the parks, making sure that everything is working, going around the neighborhood, making sure that everything is working fine and everybody's having a safe place, get a safe place to live. So if you've done all that work, can you imagine? I know folks at the church down the street that I'm talking about who did all that work for 20 years to bring about that train station. And they're the very same people who are getting evicted out of the community.
Because of gentrification.
Gentrification, not only because they're not only renters, they're also homeowners, because guess what? Now everything's going up, including taxes and insurance. And these tenants or landlords or homeowners, I should say, these homeowners who are on fixed income are not able to afford the high increase in rent or high increase in taxes or insurance. So we need to find a way to benefit, to let people benefit from the sweat equity, right?
And so
Maybe the
I've never actually heard.
the newcomers should be paying a little higher, but those who've been there, who've done the work, ought to be grandfathered in because it happened in California. I remember when I was getting my master's in taxation, I read about a study, or actually proposition, I believe it was proposition 76. I don't remember technically the number, but there was a proposition in California whereby like folks who were living there, who had lived there for years, were experiencing gentrification because they were not tenants, they were homeowners, but they were being priced out of their community because of the fact that taxes were going up so high that they couldn't afford it anymore. They couldn't afford to live in the neighborhood because the newcomers were coming in buying paying so much more for a property, with the speculative market. They were paying 2-3 times as much as these families had paid before. And then all of a sudden, the families who've been there for years, since the 70s, were not able to live or stay. So they had to do something, and they did. And they were able to get grandfathered in so that they didn't have to be pushed out of the community. So there are things we have to do. Yes, free market economy, but if free market economy doesn't do everything, people are the one working hard. People are the one investing energies. They're the one investing their time. They're the one investing their sweat equity to build a community. And as soon as it is built, you have these multinational corporations or big landlords. We call them, corporate landlords. They come in and really try to evict everybody out of the community because now it's time for them to cash in. You cannot cash in from somebody else's hard work. Just like you cannot come in and eat my 5-course meal after I've done the work. I get to eat it. Right. I deserve to eat it, right?
I just never heard that explained as sweat equity before, because obviously with gentrification, like you don't get to reap the rewards of your hard work. You get to you're literally kind of handing off to someone who didn't do shit to do anything to get it in the first place.
Yeah, and they tell you don't belong anymore. Actually, the people that I've worked with in the past year in Boston, they receive letters from corporate landlords. We call them Johnny's come lately. Is that the expression?
Yeah, Johnny come lately.
Yeah.
I
come lately. They came in. The next thing they did were they sent out eviction notices or high rent increases saying like your rent is going up $500, $1,000 overnight. I mean, like the average person cannot afford that overnight. Or if you cannot afford the high rent increase, you get to leave. You no longer belong here. And when for actually tenants, community members want to ask them, what do you mean by we don't belong here? Well, there's a train station across the street now. This place is worth more money now. So therefore, you got to go.
I like the idea of grandfathering in because gentrification, yes, everything you said, that's not fair and it's gross. Correct. And with just kicking people out for their disgusting. However, the flip side, gentrification creates more jobs. It creates better opportunities for people who move in, correct? But how do you kind of balance those two things? And I guess the answer is grandfathering the people in.
We have to find a way to share the meal, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, you share it. So how do we do that? How do you do that?
Yeah, well, you gotta tell me what's in it for me to share my meal with you. What do I get in return, right? What do I get in return?
Well, couldn't people just refuse to sell? If someone's just like, hey, you gotta go, like, no? Well, because they're renting? Is that it?
If they're renting, they're gonna be in Boston. There's such a thing as a no fault eviction, meaning like you can get evicted for doing nothing wrong. You don't have to do anything wrong.
Yeah, the landlord can just be like, I just don't want to rent it anymore.
Exactly.
Can you force a landlord to rent to someone though? Is that right?
What do you mean force?
Like if you so the landlord's saying like, I want to get rid of this person for no reason. This person's like, I want to stay. We don't force
landlords to come to a neighborhood and buy either.
No,
we don't force them to come. If you come to a neighborhood, you should study the neighborhood to see the work that's been done by the people of the neighborhood.
But if someone already has it,
You come to my house, I've prepared my meal. You have to think about the fact that I've done the work all day to prepare that meal. You cannot come in and say, because I have money and I can come in and take over your meal, and now you don't get to eat. No, you have to come in, have a conversation, say, I'm here to invest because I find this place a lucrative community to invest in, because they find it lucrative after the work's been done. Remember
Right.
that, they will. It's after the work's been done, it becomes lucrative, right? So is this a lucrative investment for me and for my investors? How can we make it win-win? Because what's happening, we're not forcing them, or not forcing them, like forcing them to rent. You cannot force anybody, right? At the end of the
Right.
day, when they come in, when I was in business school, I remember they say a fair return on your investment was about 12%, right? A
Okay.
fair return.
Sure.
Historically, that's what the stock market has done. But a lot of these new investors nowadays, these real estate investors, they're not looking for a fair, reasonable return on investment. They're looking to gouge.
Hmm.
That's what they're doing. So
And
they
they're really
come
good
to a
at it.
community.
And
They
they're
come to
really
a
good at it.
community. They come to a community and they're looking to extractive economy du jour. They want to come and extract as much wealth as they can from that community after the work had been done by the community members, right? Now they're coming to cash in. So that's why you can either roll over and die and let them do whatever they want to do, or you can stand up and say, you know what, I have sweat equity, I've done the work. If you come here to eat, you can eat, but it has to be fair. How can we make sure it's fair? And it's going to take a fight. It's never easy because, by nature, we're all greedy, right?
Of course.
Greed is the reason why we have the major gentrification and displacement that we've been experiencing in many major communities, cities around the country and all over the world, actually. Greed, because it's never enough. You know about bloodsuckers, right?
Of course. Yeah.
Vampires.
Yeah. Yeah. They're vampires.